Yes now lads, so today we are going to be doing a full guide for the new Equilibrium dungeon which launched yesterday, and in today's video I'm going to go through every encounter and show you guys exactly what you need to do to be able to complete this dungeon, whether you've done a dungeon before or not, whether you think that you're a good player or not. This will help everybody get through this dungeon and get the fantastic loot which is in it. Now it is a bit of a gamble me doing a video like this for a channel of my size. Generally the amount of eyes for the amount of effort it takes to make these videos isn't going to be really worth it, but I think this dungeon is really fun and it's already getting bashed on Twitter, but I want to let you guys know that it is worth it. It is fun no matter how quickly it was completed in contest mode. It is a really fun dungeon and the loot is worth getting. So for those of you that are a bit apprehensive about trying new content, things like this, I wanted to do this for you guys. But if you do enjoy the video today, obviously all the good stuff like liking, subscribing, commenting and obviously sharing with other people to get more eyes on it would really help me out. But with that said, let's get into it. So first things first, you're going to want to go and see Arnor on the Tharsis outpost and speak to her. She'll give you a quest to start off. Then you're going to launch up the dungeon and go in. Pretty simple stuff to begin with. You're going to fight a few enemies that spawn in from where you start, and you're just going to make your way down and through until you get out into this what looks like an airfield or hangar, something like that. If you head to the very back where there's the big temple at the back there, you'll find the rally banner, and to start the encounter you're going to want to head to the big ship in the middle where you can interact with it. So the key things that you need to know about this for a first encounter: you're going to come across a lot of different enemies, a lot of yellow bars, a lot of red bars. There is quite a decent ad density in here. One of the most important enemies though is going to be the nameless Apprentice. These you're not going to miss, as these are the big double-axed Cabal enemies, or in-house we refer to them as choppy choppies normally, but you're going to see these and they're going to have a shield around them and they will be immune. So how do you take this shield down? Well, as you wander around, if you imagine there's a circle around this ship being in the middle, at the front of the ship, at the right of the ship and at the left of the ship respectively, as you look at it from where you start with the rally banner, there are going to be 3 of these little radar dishes or consoles, whatever you want to call them, around the map. Now, this is significant because, as is usually the case with dungeon content, we're being taught here mechanics that will go throughout the entire dungeon, so it's important to know what you're doing. So in order to be able to take the shield off these nameless apprentices, you're going to have to bait them towards one of these radar consoles, and then for lack of more technical terms, you're going to want to start pissing the enemy off. So start damaging it, start hitting it, and you'll see a unique animation where it starts to cover itself in a sort of taken gloop around the edge of its shield. You want to do this as close to the actual panel as you can, and once this starts building up, you want to interact with the panel, which will expose some fuses. When the detonation happens from the enemy's animation, this will overcharge and destroy that panel. So you're going to need to do this for all 3 of the panels within the area. In an ideal world for speed and efficiency, obviously each person on the team would be doing this at the same time for each of the panels, but it doesn't matter. There's no set rule on this needing to be done. One person can do all of them if you want, 2 people can do it while 1 person keeps the ads off them. It really doesn't matter, guys, but you do need to get all 3 of these done. Now, once you've done this, you're going to be able to head out to the edge of the map, out of this sort of little cave where the doors were covered by the red barriers. These will open up once you have done each respective console and blown them up, and then you're going to be able to hop onto the Falcon bikes. Now, you're going to need to race around the edge of the map, and you're looking to drive through these white sort of taken bubbles that are on the ground. What's important to note is while you are outside in these sort of corridors around the edge of the map racing around on the Sparrow, you are going to be building up a debuff called Creeping Shadows. This is a lot like the darkness debuffs that we've seen in plenty of activities in the back, and basically while you are outside in these corridors you are going to be building up this buff. If it starts to close off your screen with blackness, you will eventually wipe. So the way to get rid of this is to drive through the taken blights on the ground. This will basically extend your time and stop you from wiping, or if you can't see one of them and you are about to die, you can always divert back into the middle of the map and that will clear off the debuff and you can carry on doing it. So essentially what you're doing by driving through these taken blights on the ground is you are going to be building up a buff. This buff is called Gathering Shadow, and this will be around throughout the rest of the dungeon. So continue to drive around, driving through the taken pools with Gathering Shadow, and eventually when you've been through enough, you'll see this change to a 45-second timed buff called Shadow Novice instead. So once you have this, you want to head back into the central area with the ship, and now with this Shadow Novice buff, this is going to allow you to take down the shields on any of the remaining Nameless Apprentices within the middle area. So you're going to do the same thing as you did with the fuse panels before. You're going to start to piss them off, and you're going to get that black taken animation happen around their shield. When this happens, you can now see that you can press your grenade button, and this provides a unique interaction which nullifies the explosion and takes off the shield of the enemy. You can now kill the Nameless Apprentice, and when you do so, be careful because a Cabal Ball is about to drop an ATST on your head. Important thing to note, if your build relies heavily on your grenade, this can be done the same way as the Renegade's abilities, as in you can press in the stick to get the buff out, or you can press it to change and have your grenade ability available instead. So essentially for the rest of the encounter, what you're going to be doing is pissing off the Nameless Apprentices until they start doing their taken animation, pressing the L1 button on controller or equivalent for whatever you are on PC, nullifying that explosion, taking the shield down, killing that enemy, and then killing the ATST that it drops in afterwards. So you're going to want to keep doing this. Every time you kill a Nameless Apprentice, it will drop a blight on the ground, which will top up your Shadow Novice buff, and you're going to want to continue to do this until all the Nameless Apprentices and subsequent ATSTs are done as well, and then you'll notice the chest spawn up at the top of the hill near the ship. Once you've grabbed your loot, you'll be in the ship and flying off to the next encounter. Any questions on this, guys? Let me know down in the comments below. Anything you don't understand or don't think that I explained properly, let me know and I'm happy to answer your questions. So I will provide a sped up run of moving from encounter 1 to encounter 2. Basically, when you land within the ship, you're going to want to jump up on top of the ship, and then you'll see that there is a vent across from you that you can shoot and go through. This is basically going to be the theme of getting to the next encounter. It's going through vents, it's shooting fuses if you find that you are barriered or the doors won't open. You are looking for the little blue fuses, which we've seen in a lot of different encounters and activities before. Shooting these will bring down barriers or open up doors if you feel that you are trapped inside a certain area. So you're going to keep moving through. Obviously, if you want to blow up your friends on this doorway that you'll come to, that is funny, so of course make sure that you do that, and eventually you'll be jumping across a massive gap between two ships, which obviously if you have some kind of mobility tech, sword, something like that, is going to help, because you are getting blown from side to side because we're moving at light speed while we're doing this. And eventually, after you make your way through all these corridors, vents, shoot fuses, open doors, you'll get to the second encounter. The second encounter is with the Harrowed Apprentice. So you're going to spawn in a room which originally it seems like you are trapped in. What you're going to need to do is wait until Cabal come through one of these doors, which is your way out of this room. There is no way to open these doors from the inside. You literally have to wait until the Cabal come through. I know, pretty annoying. It took us a while to figure out this was the case, and we thought it was bugged, but no, you do have to do that. Once you are outside the room, you can open doors, so if you're outside of this room and teammates are inside, you can open the doors for them, and that obviously helps a little bit. So what you're going to notice is that in a sort of semicircle, it goes from one side to the other around the edge of the original room that you spawn in. There are long corridors and a total of 3 other rooms outside of the main room. What you are looking to do is find yellow bar scions, which upon killing them is going to drop one of those taken blights on the ground, which we saw in the first encounter. And again, when you walk through them, it's going to start to build up a buff. This time, however, it's going to go one step further, and you're going to keep killing these scions and collecting the buffs until you get the Shadow Apprentice level of the buff, which will fill up the meter. Once you have this, there are 3 rooms, and within each of the 3 rooms there are 3 buttons, which you can use the unique take and grenade ability we were using in the first encounter to interact with these buttons. If they have these tiny little red lights on them, that means that they still need to be hit, and once you do this, they will close up. Once you have done all 3 buttons in all 3 rooms, so 9 total, you'll notice a message on the side of your screen that says emergency subsystem active. Once you see this message, all 3 of your teammates need to go back into the center, into the main room which you originally spawned in with the boss, and then there's a couple more mechanics which we need to do here. So once again, we'll be using the buttons with the taken buff to interact with those, and that is going to bring up 2 of those little blue fuses, one on either door on either side of the room. Blowing up these will open up a trapdoor in the floor, which you need to bait the boss into. Important thing to note here, guys, there was a couple of occasions where the boss came in like invisible and we didn't actually see him come in the room or towards the trapdoor, but you will just notice that a third of his shield bar on top of his health bar at the bottom of the screen will disappear. So obviously that does happen, so keep an eye out for that. And the other thing is these large electric sort of containers or Tesla type things in the corners of the room. You can also bait him to one of these and get him to attack you and let that blow up on him. That will also remove some of his shield as well. So a combination of these things, you need to basically do 3. So you can either drop him down both trapdoors and then get him to hit one of the Tesla coils. That will remove his shield. Then it's damage time and you need to go crazy on him. If you don't get the job done, which is probably unlikely unless you are an absolute sweat lord of a team or, just better than us, you are going to need to repeat that entire process again. So if you get to the end of a damage phase and you've done a third or half of his health or whatever the case may be, you're going to need to rinse and repeat that entire process until you get him all the way down to his damage gate. So once the damage phase ends, go wait for the cabal to come through the doors, go back out, do the 3 side rooms with the 3 buttons in each room until you get the subsystem message, then go back in, shoot your fuses with your trapdoors and get him to explode one of the Tesla coils, and then rinse and repeat that. Now once you get him down to his final stand at the very sort of end of the bar, this will happen.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh yeah!
And then you're essentially going to chase him across onto the platform that he jumps across to. This is where you'll be able to go crazy on him and finish him off, and that is the end of Encounter 2. Again guys, if you have any questions, if you don't feel like I explained any of that so that you understand, let me know and I'll answer any comments down below. So again, we'll be into a traversal section in order to get to the 3rd encounter and final boss. Important thing to note though, where you kill the guy in his last stand on the plate and your loot chest spawns, he will also drop a buff which gives you the full Shadow Apprentice buff down where you fight him. And there are 2 buttons, one either side of this plate which you need to shoot, which will reveal a switch on the ground which you can then use to open up the door to start the traversal section. So once the door's opened up, once again we're going to be ship hopping. You're going to want to head across to the left on this platform and jump across to the ship. Go along to the edge to the furthest door of the 3 available, and you'll see that there is a little blast door with these 2 switches which you just need to interact with to open that up. Once you get through this blast door, you're going to want to drop down through the red light district to continue to make your way round. The route is pretty self-explanatory, it's pretty easy to follow, and eventually you'll find yourself up in this hangar on top of a platform. What you want to do is fight the enemies that are up there to keep them off you, and then go across to the center of the platform. You'll find a button which interacts and you can get these cranes to move. The easiest way up is to go to the very far right one, and that will take you up to the top where a ship is sort of docked. You can climb up on top of that into this round platform that you can see and make your way up higher up. Once you're up and you get to the room that's got the tank in it, you want to clear the enemies out of your way and then slide underneath the gap underneath the tank. Make your way down from there. Then you're going to follow through this little vent system, which basically is a little bit of a maze, but there's not too many sort of dead ends. You'll figure it out pretty quickly if you can't see directly from the footage that you're seeing. And eventually you're going to get yourself up out onto these other platforms. So out in this big sort of open space, you're going to need to do the same thing again. You're going to need to kill these yellow bar enemies until you have the Shadow Apprentice buff. And then out onto the platforms, there are a series of jumps which you need to make pretty much to the entire top of the room. You want to be as high up as these red platforms, and you want to make your way all the way across at the top here to where we go. Only one person needs to do this, but they do need to be quick because obviously you don't have too long on this timer. And the objective here is to get across to where this button is on the wall, and as we have been in the other encounters, we need to interact with this, which will open up this circular silo bit, which will allow us to get up and into the final boss room. So, within the final boss room, you are going to meet this guy who immediately storm trances some enemies in front of you. Now, a few things to notice about this room. First and foremost, there is a normal version, and then there is like a darkness transcendent plane version of the room. You'll notice that at the top of the screen, there is timers. So it's going to say Lure of the Dark, and it's going to be counting down. When this timer counts down to 0 when you're in the normal room, this is going to transport you to the darkness version of the room, and vice versa. When you're in the darkness version, that time is going to count down and put you back into the normal version of the room. So what do we need to do? Well, when you spawn in or when you first go into that boss room, you'll notice that there are 5 orbs in shields on the wall behind him. These correspond to 5 enemies that you need to kill, and when you go through to the darkness version of the room, there are also the same 5 more enemies that you're going to need to kill. In the light version of the room, these are going to be the same nameless apprentice enemies shielded with the Taken Blight animation that we've been killing in other encounters, and the way that you do this is exactly the same. There will be the yellow bar enemies with the fuel packs on the back of them. Killing one of of these is going to spawn the Taken Blight on the floor. Each time you go through this is going to add to your buff meter, stacking up that shadow buff. In this room though, this goes all the way up to Shadow Master, so essentially you'll do the same thing. You'll kill the yellow bar enemies until you've got enough buff. You'll then aggravate or piss off, as I've been saying throughout the video, the Nameless Apprentice until he does his animation. You can use your unique Taken Grenade ability, stun his shield off, and then you can damage and kill him. Each one of these you kill will take the shield off one of the 5 orbs behind the boss, and you can destroy these. So you need to rinse and repeat that process until all of these are done. When you are teleported into the Taken version of the room, this is the same thing, apart from this time you'll be killing shadow clones of the boss himself. Now these are all around these platforms that are around the edge of the map. There are going to be 4 around the level that you spawn in on, and then there are also some platforms you can spawn to climb up to the top of the circular arena in the middle, and there'll be another one up there that you can kill as well. The way to get these platforms out is by having the shadow buff and switching once again some of the buttons around the edge of the map. These will be dotted around and they spawn various different platforms, some which help you get to and from the platform areas to the center, and then one will spawn platforms up to get you up to the top. So once you've killed all 5 of these, this is exactly the same thing. Each one of the shadow bosses that you kill is going to de-shield one of the orbs in the darkness version of the room, which you can then destroy. Now the way we did this is that myself and Betty went around all the edge killing all the bosses, and we left Cap in the center because every time he shot one of the orbs after we killed the enemy and de-shielded them, it gave us more time within that room. It extended the timer, making it easy for us to get all 5 in one go. Once you've done this, you've then got unlimited time in the lightness room before the DPS phase to kill all of the Nameless Apprentices and de-shield and shoot all of the 5 orbs in that room as well. So some key things to note here before we move on with what I've just said. The aim of this is that we need to kill the 5 Nameless Apprentices in the light room and destroy the 5 orbs on the wall behind the boss. We've got that timer at the top counting down, which is going to teleport us to the darkness room, and we have the 5 shadow bosses to kill in there as well. For every shadow boss you kill, it extends the timer that you have in that room, and ideally you want to kill all 5 of them in that one go. That will stop you teleporting backwards and forwards between the light and dark room. You can focus on the dark room, get all 5 killed, then go back to the light. The switches which we've been using throughout the encounters, which you can find around the edge of the arena on the platforms with the shadow bosses, will spawn platforms which make it easier to get to and from the center, as well as being able to spawn platforms which take you up to the top of the arena where you can find the 5th and final shadow clone to kill. Now I don't have footage of this because most of the footage you're seeing is from our first run within the dungeon, but I have been told that if you have the full Shadow Master buff, which is gained from picking up and walking through the blights, that will allow you to get close to the shadow clone enemies, and it will give you the option to interact and compel them rather than killing them. By doing this, when you get to the DPS phase, that will extend your timer. However, if you kill all 5, that will increase the amount of damage that you are able to do to the boss. So I haven't got this confirmed, but I have had a few people now say that that is the case, so that is also something to bear in mind. So again, just to catch us back up, because I know I've just said a lot of different things there, you go into the boss room, you'll start killing enemies, picking up your buffs. You can kill some of the Nameless Apprentices if you can, and destroy some of the orbs that then become de-shielded behind the boss. You go through to the darkness room, you want to try and kill all 5. Obviously you can extend the timer. Each time you kill one of the shadow clones, you can pop the orb behind it that is de-shielded. That will give you enough time to kill all 5. Then you go back to the light room and focus on killing the rest of the Nameless Apprentices. So the name of the game here is you kill 5 shadow clones in the darkness room, you kill 5 of the Nameless Apprentices and pop all the orbs as well in the light room, and then it will be a DPS phase. Some other things to note. So as we have the switches around the edge of the platforms in the darkness room, we also have switches around the edge in the light room. Now after you complete one full rotation, so you've defeated all of the enemies in the darkness and the light room, so you've shot all of the orbs and you've done a DPS phase against the boss, everything will reset, so your buffs will disappear, and you'll now get these Tesla coils come down from the ceiling in the boss room, which are very deadly. If you're standing them for more than a second or 2, you will end up being dead. And the switches in the light room actually remove some of the lightning coils in the ceiling. They go back up, so it actually clears a portion of the electric damage which is on the floor. So that's really helpful to note, guys, and you're definitely going to want to do this, or it will be very difficult, especially during the DPS phase with the boss in the center. Another thing is a mechanic of the bosses. So you will see every now and then when you are in the lightness version of the room, getting your buffs and doing your stuff to kill the nameless apprentices, you will see face your death in yellow text come up. Essentially, when this happens, the boss is going to lock onto you and Palpatine tickle fingers the shit out of you. Now, there is no way to avoid this. You can go to the very edge of the map and it will just drain your health and kill you. So, the way to stop this is by shooting his hands. Now, if this is happening to you, of course you need to deal with it, but you can also help your teammates. If you see it happening to them, you can shoot his hands to stop that happening as well. If you've got something that just does decent burst damage, a machine gun, something like that, obviously I had at this point picked up the brand new one from this actual dungeon, which was crazy for it, by the way. You shoot his hands and it stops him from doing that attack. So that again is something really important to notice, guys. So again, what a full encounter cycle looks like within this particular boss room is as follows. You'll spawn into the room, or you'll go into the room, you'll rally your flag, and you'll start killing enemies, getting your buff, and working on killing those nameless apprentices. For every nameless apprentice that you kill, it will de-shield the orbs behind the boss, and you can shoot those. When your timer runs down, you'll be teleported into the darkness room, where instead you're going to want to switch your attention to killing those shadow clones of the boss. Make sure each one that you kill, you get someone in the center to shoot one of the orbs when they de-shield. This will extend your timer, allowing you to kill all 5. Don't forget to use those switches to use platforms to make it easier for yourself and also to get up on top to kill that last one. If you make sure that you are calling out when you've killed one of them and the person is shooting those de-shielded orbs, that will give you enough time to clear all 5 in one sitting, and you won't have to keep teleporting within that phase from the lightness room to the dark room. Once you've done that, you go back into the main room. Don't forget it will reset your buff, so you will have to start killing those yellow bar enemies again to get your shadow buff back up. But again, you are going to return to working on those nameless apprentices, de-shielding them with the unique taken mechanic, and then shooting the de-shielded orbs behind the boss. Once all 5 orbs in the darkness room have been cleared and all 5 in the lightness room, the DPS phase will start, where you want to absolutely go to town on the boss. Once you've ran through a full cycle of doing those 2 rooms orbs and the DPS phase on the boss, don't forget that you will then get those lightning Teslas coming from the ceiling, and that is something to be aware of. You want to get straight out of the center as soon as you finish that DPS phase, else otherwise you will wipe if all 3 of you are in the center. That electric damage does so much and it will kill you very, very quickly. So then, if that's the case, you're going to start doing the same thing again. You're going to teleport through to the shadow room, do the 5 bosses and the 5 orbs, come back to the light room, same thing again, and another DPS phase. As I said, after your first cycle through, you definitely, once you've gone back through to the dark room and done that and returned to the light room, you definitely want to get those buffs as quickly as possible and start using the switches within the light room to remove some of those Tesla coils and give yourself more platform area without those lightning attacks. And don't forget, if you do get the face your death thing happen to you, make sure to shoot the boss's hands and that will stop him from killing you. So again guys, I've tried to be as basic in explaining it as I can, just so it's easy to understand. If you do feel like there is something that you're confused about what I've said or how to get somewhere, make sure you let me know down in the comments below, because I do respond to all comments and I'm happy to make sure that you guys understand what you're doing. But other than that, there is some fantastic loot within this dungeon. I will have some videos coming up on the loot from the dungeon, as well as collectibles, secret chests, things like that. I just wanted to get this one out though, so you guys could obviously have a go at it, have fun with it, and get some of this awesome loot. This is my first guide of this kind, something like this for content this soon, so if you've got any ideas of how I can improve or things like that, please do let me know that as well. I'm not too proud to be given feedback so that I can improve content for future videos. Anyway guys, enjoy and I'll catch you soon. Bye.